Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, and we are at the top of week 4 for our resale revenue Facebook group that meets on Monday through Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Time. Get our days all started off right together. We're a community of resellers of all different levels, and we all help each other out and support each other and learn something new every day, I hope. We share the first half of our morning calls on YouTube, and then the second half is group only. We do have several other calls that will be starting in September, which I'm excited to announce. And I will also be adding a second daily call that will have set things that we do every single day. So if you want to join us, go to Facebook and look up reseller revenue and join us. So this morning we're going to talk about how I take the unpopular stance that eBay is not dead. I hear people, I've seen so many posts lately that say eBay is dead, full-time reselling is not possible anymore. Just gloom and doom that full-time resellers are all going out of business. Full-time on eBay is not possible anymore. No one's shopping on the platform anymore. And I take the opposite stance. I don't think eBay's dead. I do think that some full-time resellers are going out of business, but that's like saying, well, the grocery store down the street went out of business and nobody is going to use a grocery store anymore. So I totally believe that eBay's not dead and that we can all do it. I get that some niches are seasonal and some have slowdowns, some have summer slowdowns. I do think that's true. I think if we're doing ski equipment, summers might be slower than winters, but all in all, we can make it work. And I think it's up to us to take responsibility to make it work. And I think that that ends up being what the caveat ends up, that people don't like to take the responsibility that maybe it's not the everybody else's fault type of thing. Maybe we can do things to make it better and to do better. So I think it really comes down to how we're saying it, what we're saying, and that we need to mean what we say. And I think that we should be saying things like eBay is dead when is eBay dead? I see eBay dead for people when they list less than desirable items. We have to quit shopping for things that we love and start thinking about what's the customer going to love. I fall into the same trap myself sometimes. There's certain things I like to post. There's certain things I like to list that are more desirable to me, but that may not be what's desirable to the rest of the shoppers out there. And I need to make sure that we're listing things that are desirable to the shoppers that are on the platform right now and that are buying right now. I think we should say eBay's dead when we list for things for more than the going rate. One thing that I'd like to talk about at some point is we list when we get, well, the offer was 35% off. I don't want to give up that much. I totally get that. But what if your price was off to begin with? Sometimes the 35% off is actually right on market price, depending on how we're pricing our items. So I do think that eBay is dead for a lot of people when they're mispricing their items. When we are artificially raising our prices to compensate for all these fees, I am 100% on board with everybody that complains about how eBay's fees are out of control when you add in promoted listing campaigns and coupons and markdowns. Totally get it. I feel the same way. But if we artificially raise our prices to help compensate for it, most of the time, it's going to do nothing but slow our sales down. And that's kind of counterproductive in my view. So eBay is also dead when we refuse the money that people are shoving at us. I feel like there's something to be said for eBay momentum. We start getting a bunch of offers, that's the same thing as somebody standing in front of you with money in their hand, and I counter offer a lot of offers too, so I don't take all of them. But if it's a reasonable offer and people are shoving money at us and we are sitting there counter offering, back and forth for $1, $2, then we are refusing the money that eBay is offering to give us. We are saying, we don't want your money, eBay. But then there's the same people that will sit and say, well, eBay's dead and I don't have any business and nobody can make a living on eBay anymore. And that's just not the case if people are trying to shove money at you. I do feel like when we start to take those offers that are reasonable and we start, being more willing to work with the customers, I feel like we build momentum on eBay and that they'll keep sending us people, that they will keep shoving money our way. And that's, all in all what we're all trying to do. I think that we should say eBay's dead when we require full-time income, but eBay dares to give us part-time income because we're only working part-time at it. There seems to be this, I don't know if it's a dream or just misconception or what we should say, but that we only have to work 3 hours a day and we can make full-time living and do full-time things with eBay. And we can't do that. It's just not the case. And eBay isn't going to give us full-time income with part-time result, part-time effort. It's just not going to happen. Some people get lucky and it can happen, but all in all, that's just not how it works. So we can't expect that out of eBay, the part-time work for full-time results. So the full-time eBay dream, is it still possible? I think it's absolutely possible. I think it's hard. I think it's really hard. Do I think that we could probably make money easier somewhere else? Probably, but if we want to make it work and we want to make that the full-time dream happen, I think it's possible. Larry, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed if I start the day by receiving an offer, that day generally is both productive, or I mean, I tend to get more sales, and it just feels better. Like okay, I started the day with and even if it was only a $10 profit item or $20 item, then more power to me, and it kind of puts a lift in my step, so to speak. The other piece to that is in how crucial it is to buy well. I mean, if I bought a pile of stuff for $200, it included a whole bunch of things that I'm selling for $35, $45 that were down in the noise. They were kind of, they not a lot of thought went into to them as the seller was looking at this big pile of stuff I was buying from him. It makes it so much easier, especially if let's say I paid $100 for that pile, and I'm already made $300 on the pile, and I get an offer that's only 60% of my asking on something that's $40, right? I get a $30 offer on a $40 item. You bet I'm taking that. And it really helps if you've bought well to accept those lower offers.
Absolutely. If we give ourselves more breathing room with our items, it makes people shoving money at us a lot easier. And like I said, sometimes those 30% off offers are right on the money for what the market price is, because the market price is simply what people are willing to pay for your items at that time. And does it mean you have to take them? No, but I totally agree with you, Larry. Like, there's something to be said for momentum getting started. If you guys, it's not a coincidence, in my opinion, that once you start taking offers, you get more offers. I think eBay sends us that kind of traffic because they know we're playing ball with them. So I don't take the real low ball offers. I'm not sending out things for $1, $2. Most of the time that's not really my thing I'm doing either. But you better believe it, if it's reasonable, I'm taking it. And I try to think, what if I never get another offer? We might never get another offer, guys. That item might still be sitting there 2 or 3 years. There's nothing we can, like, what are we thinking sometimes? When I see people go back and forth over $1 or $2, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, I'm taking it. I'm gonna take it and leave, because the opportunity cost of that $1 or $2 way bigger than that gap of money. I can turn that money into something else, something better. We're always learning, we're always evolving, so we can always put that money into something that's bigger, better, and going to give us even better return. So the full-time eBay dream is, I think, totally, completely possible. But I think then we need to rephrase how we say that too. Like, I think we should say the eBay full-time dream isn't possible if we do those things that we say, that makes eBay dead. You're right. It's not possible if we're running our business that way. But the full-time eBay dream is possible if we start putting in full-time effort, if we want full-time results. And that's not me saying that, full-time eBay is the only way to go. Like, I'm totally supportive of people that are just doing this part-time. I think that's great too, but we have to put in what we're asking for eBay to give us back out, because otherwise it doesn't end up working. If we put that effort in and we are sourcing amazing things, which we can do, that helps us, get to that next step too. If we're taking great photographs and not half-hearted efforts to just throwing something down, because I see a lot of people that have great items, but their pictures are terrible. Their pictures are terrible. People aren't even going to get that far into your listing because they're not going to look. Because that first picture means so much on eBay when people are scrolling by. If we educate ourselves daily on the items that we are selling, it's super important. Like I every single day am researching the types of items that I'm selling every day. And I would say that I could probably teach a lot on the subjects that I'm selling. And I'm still, learning about it every day. And I'm still making sure that I'm on top of things on eBay, making sure I'm looking at the trends in jewelry, making sure I'm seeing what's sold in jewelry, learning new brands in jewelry every day. So absolutely we have to be educating ourselves. Um, I don't believe that no one's on eBay anymore. I hear it all the time. All the shoppers are jumping ship. Nobody's shopping on eBay anymore. eBay doesn't advertise, so we're, never going to get these shoppers back. Do I think there's been some decline? I think there's been some dilution because, we have these new platforms popping up all the time. So I think people kind of have to split their shopping efforts between all the places, but the shoppers are still there. There is a huge audience on eBay waiting to take, to buy your items and for you to take the money. There's huge amount of shoppers out there. So I don't know about you guys, but lately what spurred this whole conversation was that I have been seeing a large amount of postings on Facebook and YouTube all about my sales are dead. Is everybody else's sales dead? eBay's dead. I'm gonna have to quit soon. Is it super easy to jump on that bandwagon? It really is. For everybody to be like, oh, mine too. eBay's glitchy. I don't have any sales. If eBay get their act together, I could maybe make a living at this, but eBay won't get their act together. Well, sometimes it's that we better get our act together. A lot of times when I'm helping people through coaching or through just, helping privately with their stores, very rarely, including my own store, can I say, well, everything's right, everything's perfect. I have no idea why you're not getting any sales. It just really doesn't happen that way. But it's easier to say, oh my goodness, mine are dead too. Thank you. And just join on the bandwagon. And it makes us feel comfortable. And something you'll hear me say on repeat is if it makes you feel comfortable, we're probably not working hard enough at it. And if it makes us feel uncomfortable, we probably should learn to tackle it and really get down to it. And so, it's never going to get you full-time results. Blame game. Blame game's never going to get us on full-time eBay with full-time income. And instead, we need to be like, why are my sales low? What can I do about it? What are people doing out there that are doing awesome that I'm not? Because I'm telling you, do your research. Research these stores. Research the people that are killing it out there on eBay because there are people killing it on eBay every day. And these are not, I'm not talking about the Nike store and stuff like that. I'm talking about just people like us that have figured it out. And most of them are working really, really hard. And that's the part we want to get around. Everybody wants the secret. How do I do this and make this work, when I want to golf all day? Well, it really doesn't usually work that way. So does that mean sometimes we have to work harder for less money? Yep, sure does. I think a lot of self-employed people in any industry would tell you that there are times either in the economy or in the buying cycle or seasonal that they have to work harder and they're not making as much money. That's life, people. It's just the way it goes. And sometimes we have to source differently and less desirably. I would so much rather go around to antique stores all day and just cherry pick the best jewelry. I would love to do that, but I'd never make my profit margins that way. So I have to buy in bulk sometimes. I don't love buying in bulk, but I have to do it to make my profit margins work. And like with what Larry said, now I can take those offers. And you know what those offers do? They fill my bank account. So does that mean that we have to list more items sometimes? Absolutely. Do I love listing 25 to 30 items a day? Nope, sure don't. But I figured out that if I wanted to grow and I wanted to make more money, I had to list more items. And that was something that I could do to make things better. Um, and 24 hours in a day is a lot of hours. And some of us have a lot of responsibilities. And sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes the 8-hour day for what we do, if we're trying to get full-time money out, isn't enough. Sometimes that 8-hour day work day that you could put in somewhere else, clock out, go home and do whatever you want isn't enough. And so we got to put in what we're wanting to get out. And sometimes that's a 12-hour day. Sometimes it's 7 days a week. Um, so in my opinion, I guess in closing is that eBay really isn't dead and that full-time is possible. And, I'm trying to figure that out for myself right now. And it's not been an easy road. I think I'm not there yet. I'm getting closer, but all of us full time means different things too. So full time to most people are just like, I can pay my bills and be a little comfortable. And I think that's totally possible. Maybe not as possible if you have $15,000 a month of bills, but it is, do I think we have to kill ourselves at it? Not completely, but I think if we're not uncomfortable and that we're not working hard enough that it doesn't feel easy, I think sometimes when it feels easy and we feel like we can get by with easy, we just keep doing easy. But I'm here to tell you easy in anything is usually not the way that we become successful. It's how we skate by. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I put enough work into this. I don't want to just skate by. And so if we all look, we need to be putting down on paper, this is what I need from eBay. Like write eBay a letter. eBay, this is what I need from you. And if it could talk back, it might spit back. It might laugh for one. Like, well, is this the same store that you're doing now that you want this stuff out of me? Or maybe you're doing great because there are a lot of people doing really great out there and they're doing big things under the radar. I see some stores I'm just blown away by. I mean, just doing great things. But if you think that your letter to eBay would laugh at you or that eBay would be like, who are you? Like, this is what you want out of me, then that's when we need to reevaluate, rethink, and but I think it's totally possible. I think we can, with some tweaks to our business, that any of us can do it. I don't think this is limited to like high level sellers already, people that have been in the game for 10 years, or I also don't believe you're stuck in the niche that you've chosen forever. I think we can pivot. I think we can make different decisions for ourselves, and it's scary. It's very scary, especially if we're really well educated in the niche we're in. But at some point, if it's not working, we have to do something different. And the phrase "not working" means different things to different people. But I do know a lot of people are in long tail categories. They expect short turnarounds, and then that doesn't work out. But we have to know our category. There's everything sellers that are doing great. I do think you can make it be an everything seller. I think it's hard work, but I think we can do it. But they run out of room. Being an everything seller takes a lot of space. And that's okay. And maybe you don't have to throw away everything. It's not an all or nothing game. Thank goodness eBay isn't. We can just say, hey, I'm going to be an everything seller 50% of my store. Other 50% of my store is going to be jewelry, or another 50% of my store is going to be clothing. We can do that. It's our business. We can do that. And I think sometimes having different niches that complement each other can elevate us to that next level. So I don't think eBay's dead. And I absolutely think we're entirely capable, all of us. Sometimes we have to be willing to put in that extra work. Sometimes we have to be willing to get some help. And I think for all of us self-employed business owners, sometimes that's the hardest part is being like, look, I'm stuck. And there was a couple of months ago that, everybody in this group would get sick of me here and say, I'm stuck because I was super stuck. I wasn't a little stuck, I was super stuck. And I kept thinking, y'all, it's so easy also to buy into the eBay, but we all heard that eBay throttles our sales. eBay controls that we can only sell so much. You know what? As soon as I made changes in my business, eBay was magically not throttling my sales anymore. What does that tell me? That tells me that eBay will allow me to have those sales, but I needed to be putting up more listings if I wanted to get those results. So eBay wasn't pushing the brake on me. I was pushing the brake on eBay. But it's not always easy to say, oh, well, now I got to put up 5 more listings a day. But I wanted better results. I wanted more money. I wanted to get to that next level. Next level for me meant I had to put up more listings because maybe my ceiling was where I was stuck at. at the level I was putting in. So if I wanted more, I have to give more. That's not always easy to choke down either, right? Especially if we're working and working and working and we feel like we're giving it all, we feel like we're sourcing good and we just can't get any better. But be willing to reach out to those people in this group. Be willing to reach out to me. I think sometimes when people look into our stores, it's so much easier for them to be able to say, "Hey, this is what I would do different." Does that mean you have to take all the advice? Nope, but it helps. I have other jewelry sellers all the time. I'll be like, "What am I missing here?" That's my famous text I send to my jewelry friends. "What am I missing?" Because there's something I've done wrong on this listing. There's something I see other people pricing it different. What am I not seeing? And sometimes it's that the other people are wrong, and sometimes I'm wrong. So being able to ask for help and say, "Look this over for me, guys. This listing's been sitting here forever, and I thought it was going to sell right away." Sometimes we have it in the wrong category. Sometimes we've done something silly. Sometimes we comped our prices wrong. But I've had so many people in this group over the last year steer me more right than wrong. So I think we're really lucky to have this group of peers that's here for us to be able to say, "Hey, like this is why it's not selling." Sometimes it's something super easy that we just miss. Sometimes we get attached to an item, think it's amazing, and it's just not amazing. I'm one of those, I want to move it down the road. I know that my average turnaround on my store is 5 months. I want it to be 3, but in all reality, it's 5. So if something gets in a month 6 or 7, I want it gone. I want it to sell. It hasn't sold for a reason. And it's not because it's so uber rare or that it's $1,000. It's usually I mispriced it or that it just wasn't as cool as I thought it was. Sometimes we pick up stuff that we think are like, wow, this is going to sell right away. And 7 months down the road, it's staring at us. And we have to figure out why is it staring at us? And sometimes we just got to get in, get out, turn it into money again. That's the game. And I get the whole theory that people have of, well, I have lots of space, so it doesn't matter. Well, you know what ends up having lots of space sometimes? Your bank account, lots of empty space. Because sometimes we can afford to sit on things for 4, 5, 6 years. That's fine. But if you can't, you're gonna run out of money, especially if you're still sourcing. We're gonna all run out of money. And our bank account's gonna have all this empty space, but our house is gonna be jam-packed full of eBay. And there are long tail niches that require 10,000 item stores. That's not something I'm looking for, but it's out there. And if you've chosen that on purpose, that's fine. If you have a 10,000 item clothing store and you're still like not really selling much, there's a problem. It just is. We should be turning over, half to 1% of our store in sales a day. That's my opinion. I will say the larger I get, the more closer to the 0.5% that I'm hitting. I was hitting 1% all the time without a problem. I still do hit it sometimes, but it's harder as I get bigger. But if I go below much underneath that percent, there's something I'm not doing something right. And I will realize I'll get on streaks of overpricing my stuff. And usually it's after I've made a big buy and spent a bunch of money. I don't know if you guys ever do that, but it's like I spend a bunch of money and then all of a sudden my stuff gets more valuable to me. Well, it's not more valuable to anybody else. My stuff is still the same stuff that it was before I went and wrote that big check. So sometimes we do those things and we really don't even realize we've done it. Or sometimes we find a big honey hole, we get really great stuff, and then we think they're worth more money. And they're not worth more money to anybody else but us. So we can't be compensating in our prices all the time. And I see that a lot. Like, oh, I raised my promoted listing campaign, so now I'm raising my prices 5%. It doesn't usually work. Sometimes if we go to free shipping, we can get away with that because we're offering something in return. We're offering free shipping. So in the price goes up some. I can see how that can work. That's a viable business model. That's another thing is the viable business model thing. It can all work. We just have to figure it out. Sometimes if it feels like I'm telling you your business model isn't working, it just means it's not working for what you're telling me you need out of it. It can work, but sometimes things don't scale as well as others. So if you're fine being in part-time, this is a hobby, this is a supplemental income, a lot of times the business models just work better than if all of a sudden that same business model needs to be producing 10,000 net a month. that's a whole different ball game. So sometimes we have to change our business model if we're going to do that. I think anybody in any industry would say, if you want to double output, the business is going to look different. And sometimes with eBay, we forget that it's a true business and it follows business cycles. And it also follows with change. We have to be willing to change for eBay if we want eBay to change for us. And so I think we just need to be mindful of these things. I think we need to be optimistic more than pessimistic as far as what can be pulled out of eBay, because I think it's possible. And I think it's so easy. I think negativity is super contagious. And if we just don't allow ourselves to just get on that bandwagon, become complacent, because it's so easy to be like, well, I'm not putting up as much because eBay's dead anyway. I'm not going to go sourcing for better stuff because eBay's dead anyway. I mean, I'm not buying that. And I'm not going to buy into that's like saying I'm just going to lay down and be fine with being mediocre or less because I can't help it. It's being done to me. Victim thing doesn't work with eBay, doesn't work with business. So we need to not be victims. We need to not jump on those bandwagons. And we need to say, what can we do? What can I do to make it better? I'm going to wrap up today. For anybody that's, especially on YouTube that's out there watching this and you hear funny noises, my friend, she insists on being up here and she's been all sorts of noisy this morning. So I apologize. We're going to wrap this up. And if you want to join us for our conversation that we have lots of times after the topic, or as I elaborate on the topic, we are private in Zoom, and you can go to our Facebook group in Reseller Revenue Facebook group and join us so that you can take part in that too.